we are good to go. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Unreal Experience podcast. I am your host, Alex, also known as Unreal Gaming, and today is going to be a really special day because I'm talking to this individual for the first time myself, and so I really don't want to keep him waiting. So without any further ado, he is a Dragon Ball creator, one of the most influential ones within the Dragon Ball fan manga community. As I want to go ahead and introduce one of my good friends and Dragon Ball YouTube creators, Mondo. Cool. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Finally doing it.
Finally doing it, right? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing relatively okay. Not good, not bad, just kind of in the middle. So, Mondo, I wanted to talk to you here today about just your overall passion that you have for Dragon Ball, and I wanted to kind of go back to the beginning because I always found it interesting the way people just kind of got into Dragon Ball, because when you start learning about how people got into it, it opens up the doors to kind of get a better idea as to what they kind of like, or preference-wise, because some people were introduced to the English dub first and then the Japanese original. Some people, of course, were introduced vice versa with the original Japanese score and then the English dub. Some people had the ocean dub and everything in between. So I wanted to go ahead and talk to you first and foremost and asking how you got into Dragon Ball and where this passion kind of came from, because I always tell this story myself, the way I got into Dragon Ball, which was a very weird thing. I'll never forget it. I came home from school and my initial intent was to watch Ed, Edd and Eddy, and I remember when I turned on my television, I didn't get Ed, Edd and Eddy, but instead I ended up getting Goku versus Frieza. I had no idea as to what was going on. All I remember when I was a kid was holding onto my book bag, and I just watched these guys like beat the shit out of each other, and I don't know what it was. I was so enthralled by it. So I wanted to go ahead and ask you as to how you got into Dragon Ball. When did it start? Did it start in middle school, elementary school? Maybe you ended up getting into it a little late in high school. I wanted to kind of know where it all began and how it originally began with Mondo Cool and the passion that he has for Dragon Ball.
It was same person who introduced me to Pokemon as a kid. It was my next door neighbor. I was lucky enough to have my absolute best friend, still a friend to me today. We had met each other when we were 4 years old. Just by sheer luck, we were the same age, lived across the street, went to the same school. He had a couple older brothers, and one day he came over and, dude, you got to see the show. We're probably like 8, 9, 10 years old. And that one was Pokemon. And then as the years kind of went by, or the months probably went by, I was like, oh, I got another show I want to show you. And of course, it was Dragon Ball. I wish I could tell you what episode it was. I try as I might. I have no idea. I want to say it was the Raditz Saga, though. And from there, I don't know, it's just, there are some things that just make sense to you growing up as a kid or even as an adult, where it just consumes you in a weird way. Where I think a lot of Dragon Ball fans can agree that it's a story you never really want to see end, because we're never satisfied with the ending. Of course, I wasn't really around for the ending of the original Dragon Ball, but Z, nobody wanted to see Z end. As good of an ending as, well, GT had a better ending in my opinion. But then, between all that, we kind of get our respective communities where people create continuations about what it should be or what it could have been. But I wish I had a crazy, good story for you, but that's really it. One of my old friends, Hugo, I'm going to name drop him, he introduced me to the series, and when we were about 8 years old, and here I am, an old man, 31 years old, and we're still friends to this day.
Well, that's good. I actually admire friendships that kind of stem all the way back, because it's really hard to, I would argue, hold a friendship that's meaningful since day one. I actually know a friend that got into Dragon Ball way, way late. He actually started, I believe, from GT, and then I think he watched OG Dragon Ball, and then he discovered Z. And so he was just like all mixed up with like the timelines and stuff. But I guess, his like nostalgic kind of introduction to Dragon Ball will always be GT. So there are days where, I talk to him and he's always pedestaling GT. I'm not a GT hater or anything, but it's just kind of like the bottom of the ladder for me in terms of what we have in the series. But even then, I also had another friend. I'm sorry, Andy, if you ever listen to this, but when I was a kid, Andy had this really interesting, chip for the PlayStation 1. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, please let us know down in the comment section. So for the PS1, right, there was this little chip that you had to get in order, to play like these region-locked games. And I remember this kid, Andy, had a very, very rare copy of a Dragon Ball Z slash GT game that I've never seen before. And I remember I went out of my way with my mom to get this little chip. It was so hard to find. But the way it operates is as soon as you open up your disc tray, you have to put the chip in between like the lid where it closes down as it goes on to press down on a specific button. And I'm literally watching this like CD like spin around as my PS1 is on. And for the life of me, I just love that game so much. I forgot the name of it. It's only in Japanese. So I didn't know what the heck was going on at the time, of course. But it was such a good game that I never returned it to Andy, man. Until this day, I probably still have it somewhere in my house. And, you know, it's always going to be there for me. And, you know, just having friends like that, you know, because I remember Andy, you know, forgot about it a long time ago. So if he ever watches this and gets reminded of it, my man, I'm sorry. So interestingly enough, what you just said was that you preferred the Dragon Ball GT ending. I myself also prefer the GT ending. I feel as though there's something about GT's ending where I don't think that they're ever able to touch. It's like almost kind of like the definitive end, like the actual goodbye. And I don't think Z was anywhere near that. I don't think OG Dragon Ball was anywhere near that. I think the end of the Dragon Ball Super anime back in 2018 wasn't anywhere near that. So my question to you is, do you see Dragon Ball Super one day having some kind of a definitive end where Goku legitimately says goodbye and that's the end of the franchise? You know what I mean? Because I do firmly believe that at some point, somewhere down the line, we are going to see the end of Dragon Ball, but it's kind of hard to say, you know, at least canonically, because the story, of course, has to reach an endpoint, which it kind of did with GT, and that's why I like GT's ending, because the way Goku just said goodbye, it was really touching, both the sub and the dub. And so what I wanted to ask you is, do you feel as though we are one day ever going to get something like that, or do you think maybe they're just gonna stick with their guns and just have what we have be until, of course, maybe something else changes down the line?
See, that's a complicated question for me because I start thinking about it with different mindsets. You know, you got your business mindset, your fandom mindset, and then you're just saying you want to see more because you really like this series, or would it genuinely be telling a good story? I think it was an appropriate ending because the GT ending, that is, because it went on for so many episodes. You can't really make that good of a story if you just keep pulling stuff up from your backside and just for the sake of longevity. And I feel like when they capped it off in GT, that's the one thing I think GT did very well, was the Shadow Dragons. Maybe not perfect execution. The idea of it going full circle with the Dragon Balls becoming the new problem. Yeah. And I think that you wouldn't have really been able to top that ending if you tried to keep it going artificially. However, I do think they dropped the ball in terms of spinoffs. I think that they could have easily had, and still could have, spinoffs revolving like with Trunks in the future. I think Bardock could even get his own spinoff and people would be down, or a miniseries, OVA, stuff like that. But in terms of ending it for good back then and just getting what we got, that's tough. I don't know. It's such a... I think they did a good job in terms of dropping it for a while and then bringing it back. I think that's what it needed, and to keep it a little bit fresh. And Super is far from perfect, but to be honest, I still enjoy it. You know, I still read it every day, or every month when the new chapter comes out. That's about all I can really touch on there.
And see, when going back, I think, to GT, to me at least, there was always something, in my opinion, that I felt like was kind of off, especially with the Shadow Dragons. I don't know if it's just me, because I felt as though they could have been so much more, and they kind of cut that out so quick that I was always just super disappointed when I was a kid. But speaking of Super, I do want to get your current standing on how you feel about this, because not for nothing, in my own opinion, I've been public about this, I don't want Dragon Ball Super's anime to come back if they're going to do a half-assed job in terms of the quality of production, in terms of like the anime looking just as wacky and cheesy as it did during the previous run of the anime. I would like for Dragon Ball Super's anime to come back at the absolute pinnacle of what it can actually present. I mean, you look at, and I know some people are going to say, well, you can't really compare, you know, other anime. Well, in this instance, you can, because they put a lot of time, energy, money, and effort into making Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, Digimon 2020, One Piece, stuff like that. They, go out of their way to make these shows look good, to have a presentable, quality-like product. And I don't want, the anime to come back just because I need content. I don't think I'd be out of content at all. I'm a very creative person, so I can just keep on going until the wheels fall off. So I'm not really, thirsty or fiending for content. That's just not me. So even if it were to come back, all right, cool, I'm going to make videos on it, but at the same time, I want to be able to enjoy it as a fan. I want to be able to watch the moral arc, which, in my opinion, for the manga, is my favorite arc of all time because of the way a lot of aspects came into play, like with the training stuff with Goku and Vegeta, incorporating everybody else in the mix by fighting Moro's crew. It was just barbaric, right? So I would like for Toei to actually, put all of their eggs in one basket and allow for the anime's return to have something more to it, to actually feel like, wow, they're putting so much, into their, animation staff, to actually lock people down and have them be consistent with things. Even if they're going to do the CG stuff that we saw from Superhero, that's fine, as long as they really, 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 really up the quality and they deliver in all aspects. I don't think that people have or should have a reason at that point to complain. But I just wanted to come back and look and compete with so many of these other shows, you know what I mean? So do you think that, in your opinion, that if and when the anime ends up coming back, that it's going to look, absolutely more, better and spectacular than what we've seen be done prior? Or do you think that maybe it's going to look like the same old stuff that we saw and nothing more is going to change to that? Because I would only assume that you would want it to get better as well, as does everybody, but is this going to be a recurring thing where it's just going to look the same? Or maybe do you think that Toei is actually going to pull it off by saying, hey, we're going to dump all of our, money into this and have Dragon Ball Super's anime return look the best that it ever did? You know what I mean?
That would require me having a lot of faith in Toei that I'm not sure I have. That's just a sad truth. If they do bring it back, I absolutely agree with you. They need to up the quality because basically in terms of animation and even a lot of times art quality, if we go back to those first two arcs in Dragon Ball Super where they just didn't try. I think they definitely brought it around by the time the Tournament of Power came around, but there's still a lot of reused animation and backdrops, all that there. I would like to believe in them, and I don't know how to feel about the new movie being in 3D. It's it's a style a lot of people are trying right now in animation. It has potential, but it's still very early, and we remember how bad CG was when that first came out. So we know all different types of animation takes time to master. So maybe it's the beginning of a great thing, or maybe it's the beginning of the end for the resurgence of Dragon Ball. I could see both of them happening, or either one of them happening. Optimistic, I guess, about the movie. I know you didn't ask me about that, but got my fingers crossed for it. As far as the fandom goes and being divided, I absolutely agree with you there. People are grotesque nowadays with their passion towards either love or hate for the series. Probably a lot of it's nostalgia. They grew up with this product they loved, and it didn't live up to the hype for the very reasons you stated. And if you have like the grandfather of all modern day shonen, and it's looking like the grandfather and not in a complimentary kind of way, you're going to have people that are mad. And then, don't get me wrong, Toritaro is not perfect, but when people heard he was going to take over with a lot of the stuff to do with the manga, I think a lot of the hardcore fans got their hopes up because he was a fan manga creator before he was Toritaro. He is Toyble. And they're like, all right, we got a one of us in there. And then makes a lot of moves that one of us typically wouldn't make. And to be honest, it was probably out of his control for the most part, not excusing everything.
And see, not for nothing though, that guy gets so much shit. Toyotaro, I mean, essentially, when you look at like the fan manga stuff, he is like, quote, one of us. He's one of those guys that was a fan, is a fan. He was drawing his own stuff, and I'm pretty sure that behind the scenes he wants to do things like Zycore, and he wants to do a whole bunch of stuff, but of course, he's probably very limited by what he can do. I think that when you look back on his Zycore stuff, he's probably gotten a lot better. That's just me. I've noticed the changes. Of course, I don't think he's perfect. He has a lot of repeated mistakes that he tends to do. I don't know if it's, due to pressure or stress, but I think that all in all, when looking at fan mangas, right, I think that fan mangas incorporate specific elements of stories that really make all the other characters feel inclusive. It, I think, goes on to tell better narratives, and I wanted to get your thoughts as to why that is. Why do you think people prefer quality fan mangas, not something that's just scribbled down, like actual quality mangas that portray a narrative, everything is consistent, and things just aren't shoehorned in, because we've seen plenty of those, we've talked about that in private, and where it doesn't make any sense at all, or either it's just a bunch of copy and paste, right? To me, I think that, in my opinion, the best current ongoing manga, or at least fan manga in this case, would be Dragon Ball Kakumi. I always preferred and liked Young Gigi stuff, but I really haven't kept up with him in a while. But I wanted to ask you as to why you think fans kind of prefer and enjoy and like, Dragon Ball fan mangas over the main canonical stuff, because it's kind of sad that fan mangas are, I wouldn't say outdoing, but in terms of preference, it's definitely blowing out everything we're seeing in the current manga arc, with people preferring fan stories and fan mangas over what's happening. So I wanted to get your thoughts as to why that is, and if you feel as though perhaps maybe fan mangas are just as a whole better than what we currently have going with the main Dragon Ball Super story.
One thing I've noticed that fan mangas do better en masse, which I guess is a little unfair when you have 100 fan mangas and only one main series, is staying true to their convictions. Because a lot of times when a fan manga has an idea, they stick it to the end. But since the beginning of Dragon Ball, they'll come up with an idea and then kind of let it taper out, or basically change the rules as the story goes. So, Toriyama's a forgetful guy. As far as Kakame specifically, I think I'm trying to come up with the PC way of saying it just completely obliterates everything in terms of artistic quality. There's no comparing. It's such a work of art. Like, I can't believe how fast this kid's able to turn over these pages. It looks like like this was a dissertation project or something like that, but no, he's making like 50 pages a month.
And mind you, these are kids. Like, these are like, 15, 16-year-old kids doing this,
The guy who's the illustrator, I think he's 16 or 17.
No, he's actually, I think he's like 15, 14 years old, bro.
I didn't know that Rico was that young.
No, right? I mean, no, really, because like these kids are, they're buckling down and they're creating quality fucking product, dude, and I gotta, tip my hat out to them, because I can't imagine. But as a team, I think that as a team, it's a little easier versus when you're doing things by yourself. I'm by myself. I'm not sure if you are. I'm pretty sure you're a one-man team as well. So they are actually, I think, a small group of like 4 or 5 or maybe 6 people, and they're making it happen, they're making it happen each and every single month, and they're banging it out. And I think that a lot of people look at that and they're like, whoa, this, that, and the third, and they're actually building up to a big story and stuff like that. So tying in to fan mangas, what I wanted to know is what made you want to also get into the fan manga realm? Because back when I was doing this in 2013, I was around in covering fan mangas around mainly, I would say, 2013 going into 2014, and I didn't really see anybody talk about fan mangas, practically because at the time, for whatever reason, people just hated fan stuff. And I get, during that era, we probably had remnants of like AF and, all that stuff. And so little by little, I've noticed over the years where people came in with the what ifs, with, fan mangas and stuff. So what I wanted to know from you is what made you want to step in and actually buckle on down and create Dragon Ball, specifically Dragon Ball content, only Dragon Ball content, because I'm not sure if you make anything else. I'm pretty sure you don't. So, to stick with Dragon Ball and only do Dragon Ball, I wanted to know what inspired you and what made you kind of go into this field and specifically doing what you do now.
First, I do want to say, I was fully aware you're a wrestler, and one of these days I'm going to show up in the crowd sometime, and you won't even know it. I'm just going to be streaming it on Twitter, and you're going to find out afterwards. We can party later, but I think it'd be fun. Well, I've always done video editing. I've always done creative stuff. I've composed for 3 short films. I've edited a couple short films, and this is going back to like 2010, 11. And video production is something I've always known I wanted to do. And from the time I was little, I would do like stop motion stuff in MS Paint and a Windows Movie Maker. I did skits in 2006, but I made sure I've buried those because I'm like 14 and it's embarrassing. I've always wanted to be a content creator before the term was really even a thing. And around 2013 or so, I was working on like, I guess Let's Plays, but also we were going through video games and just kind of personifying the character, like in horror games, what they'd really be thinking. Because most of the time in horror games, you have a silent protagonist. When in real life, the people would be crying and saying all sorts of stuff. And, we thought it was pretty funny. YouTube didn't think it was very funny. So that never went anywhere. But then I kind of just started thinking about stuff like, well, I was kind of burnt out at that point. I was working at the hospital, which nothing crazy, by the way. It was just the financial department. 12 hours a day, and I was exhausted. But I'm like, I really want to keep this hobby going because I always felt like playing video games like all my other friends was kind of a waste of time. So I'm like, well, what's one constant that I could always make videos on? I'd never get bored of. And in 2016, I created Mondo Cool because of that.
Okay, wait, so is it only Mondo Cool? Like, do you only cover Dragon Ball, or is there something else that maybe you do in terms of gaming, or maybe other things, or is it just only Mondo Cool?
Always just Dragon Ball. The Mondo Cool, it's a reference to that. Oh, it was either an early Funimation dub or the Ocean dub where they're on Namek, and Vegeta's put Goku in the healing tank. You got Gohan and Krillin looking in, and Vegeta basically explains how the healing tank works, and Krillin goes, "Whoa, Mondo Cool!" And I always thought it was such a funny, corny line that when I made the channel, when I was thinking of random names, I'm like, I personally didn't want it to be saying this or whatever. I wanted it to be a very obscure reference to the series. Now, there's a clip with a few million views of that scene on YouTube somewhere, like 35 of the comments are like, "This is where he got his name from," and I'm like, "Yes, I've made it."
That's actually really cool. It's like you got your name from like just essentially a gag, like that's as wacky as it gets. I think at least, you know what I mean?
I actually never heard how you came up with yours.
Oh man, mine like goes all the way back. So I was always a fan of like the Unreal Engine. So I mean, as you can see now, we have like the Unreal Engine 5, and just there's something about the Unreal Engine when you look at games that it just looks spectacular, and I like the word Unreal. So when I went to go put like I guess my main channel together, I said to myself, all right, well, I like the Unreal Engine, so I'm gonna name myself Unreal. I like to game. I'm a gamer. I've always been a gamer at heart, so I'll just do Unreal, and then I like to entertain people on top of gaming, so let it be Unreal and Gaming. But I couldn't really just put entertainment in there because that'd be a long ass word. So it's like people are gonna type in Unreal Entertainment Gaming, and I was like, you know what? Let me just stick with Ent. I mean, again, we're talking about like mixing words and trying to figure things out back in like 2011, 2012, and that was like once upon a time ago when we had like everyone's naming themselves like gamer this or X X that, and it's like, hell, I like these three things, and I guess I'll just smash them together, and that's how it came to be.
May or may not go through with this. You might get too busy, but me and another popular Dragon Ball YouTuber are going to start a Let's Play channel, and I also love horror games. That is easily my second biggest passion outside Dragon Ball. So 100% we'll have to get you on there sometime to do one of the some like Outlast or those Alien Isolation.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, wait. We're gonna talk about that. I want to talk to you about that later on. So what I really want to know right now, I think moving forward. So I don't know if you want to count it as being like 3 years, maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Where do you see Mondo Cool? Where do you see yourself as a person? I mean, you said you're 31, 10 years from now you'll be 41, Jesus, right? So where do you see yourself moving forward as a creator, as a person? Do you see yourself maybe hanging it up one day? Do you see yourself maybe doing this for life, like NWO style, Wolfpack for life? So I just kind of wanted to get an idea because content creation is not easy. A lot of people just always assume that it is when it's really not. And it's kind of sad because people have like the wrong idea, like, oh yeah, content creation's easy, when it's really, really, really not. So Mondo Cool, where do you see the channel? Where do you see yourself? And more importantly, where do you see yourself as a person in the near future?
It's a tough one because I always try not to think more than 8 months out. Although I'm big in investing and I think I'm pretty business savvy, I've always said, and I still say, I want to be doing this exact same thing when I am 80 years old. I want to be voice going away. I can barely talk, but I still want to be narrating Dragon Ball. I probably will pass it on to somebody else by then, but maybe I'll be involved in editing capacity. YouTube probably won't even be around then, but I can still fantasize. Realistically, just want to expand on what I'm doing, man. Of course, like I just said, working on that other channel. I'm not going to say I'm expecting a Let's Play channel to just blow up in 2022. I'm also doing live streams. I'm going to start doing those with unboxings with Dragon Ball Super, the card game. Just got really burned on a $200 box, so that was cool. not a single good pull. Not a single good pull, man. It was rough. Not a single one. I'm like, all right, you win some, you lose some. I don't know. Let's say things kind of stay par for course. You know, I'll probably be looking at in 5 years from now. I'm almost at 400,000 subscribers. You know, if everything goes well, I'll be upwards of 700,000. Maybe I'll be with you at 1 million. My dream will come full circle, like you've had yours, starting YouTube in 2006 and then grinding it out and made it, man. You're part of the easily less than 1% of YouTube has made it past 1 million subs.
See, to that, I never thought I'd ever reach 1 million subscribers. You know what I mean? And even now that I have 1 million plus subscribers, I'm still a humble person, and I think I got the humbleness from wrestling because after surrounding myself with individuals that are far more talented than me, I've learned a lot. Because in wrestling, you learn something called, you know, just shut your mouth and pay attention. And you're going to learn a lot that way, you know? And there are so many creators on this platform where they get a little bit of a boost and then their ego is just ginormous. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? So, especially guys that, you know, buy accounts and they try to like comment to their own channel saying get this person to 1 million. So like it's so weird, and it's like some people's ego will never ever do them, you know, due diligence or justice in life, because, you know, if you're gonna just be considered or want to be considered like top shit, it's like, dude, relax, man. Like, be humble. I think that a lot of people have not mastered the art of being humble and just, you know, appreciating what you have instead of just being so fucking greedy to want more. And I can understand striving towards something in a positive way, but me and you and many other people have seen other creators strive for it in very vindictive and egotistical ways, which is hilarious to me because, you know, at that point you burn so many bridges that you ain't gonna be able to cross the river once it floods. You know what I mean? And, you know, I'm very happy to get to where I am, and I'm pretty sure you're also gonna get there as well. Through consistency, people think that, again, content creation is easy. It's not. I've been doing this since 2006, on and off. I think, yeah, during that time it was on and off for like 6 years. So I was creating just weird, wacky content, machinimas, Halo machinimas, all types of stuff. And, you know, I've learned through that. And I only took Unreal Endgaming serious when I first made it in 2012, you know, in terms of, you know, creating a stable channel. And I was doing content and I was, you know, I didn't really know too much about the monetization system or any of that. And right around 2015/2016 is when I really kind of buckled down to take my channel as serious as I am now. You know what I mean? So I would dare say for like 9 years, I was just like goofing off, making content, not knowing things, trial and error. But I always was thankful because I never really thought I would ever get to where I'm at. I never did. That never crossed my mind, man. When I first made Unreal Endgaming, I was looking at, you know, just PewDiePie and, you know, Markiplier, White Boy 7 Street, if anybody remembers him, and X-Jaws, 402 Thunder. I think El Presador was around that time, Wings of Redemption, Syndicate, you know what I mean? So, you know, I saw like these guys had like big channels and stuff. I think it was, who else? It was T Martin. I remember we had the PKA podcast, FPS Russia, who could ever forget him? So, you know, I never really thought that, hey, I'm gonna reach 1 million subs. I was just like, all right, well, I'm gonna get 1,000 subs. I'm gonna get maybe, you know, 5,000 subs. And, you know, that was it. I never expected to just blow up the way I did. And when it happened, I would attribute that to just luck and just sheer coincidence and consistency, because I've been uploading, I think I have like, what, 6,000 videos on my channel, so nobody can ever say like, you didn't work for a man. I've been busting my ass for 10 years, 6,000 plus videos. Like, you know, I put a lot of time and energy of my life within like the last 10 years to be where I'm at now, you know? So definitely not easy, but I think that a lot of people just forget to be humble. And I'm very happy about that because, you know, for the most part, I feel as though if you're not humble about where you are and what you have, you're going to let your ego kind of get in the way, as we've seen with just many other people and content creators before. You know what I mean?
With my friends, when they bring up the YouTube thing and talk about me having a few 100,000, I lean into it just because it's funny with them, because they're my closest friends. I've known them since we were in middle school. Of course, I fully agree with you there. You don't let it be an ego boost for you. That's not at all what I meant. But it's more so me. I don't know. I don't want to get too personal. It's kind of like an insecurity thing where it's kind of affirmation, or like, I can do this. I did do this, and I am good. And what I do create, people do enjoy. Especially being a creator my whole life since I was a little kid, and I made stuff that genuinely wasn't very good. I had 6 older siblings to let me know it wasn't very good, or my classmates that didn't care about it, that weren't creative. And so you carry some of that weight, or at least I did, up until you kind of get it off your back and you're able to move on from it. Which luckily I did do that, decades ago. But there's still a little bit that kind of lingers over to where, for example, and my channel first got its first little bump. I was honestly so defeated and dejected by just the whole creator community, where my self-esteem was so low. Or when I first got 1,000 subs, I thought about, you know what? I'm just going to take this as my victory and hang it up. That was on the Mondo Cool channel. I had such little success doing anything, whether it was music, which I do believe I'm a talented musician. It's just a saturated field. Oh, absolutely. I've got to compose for a few movies, short films, albeit, but piano, guitar, obviously everybody does MIDI nowadays. A little bit of drums, and recently, the most recent thing I tried to do was violin, but I was like 25 when I picked that up, and I'm like, I just don't have it in my heart anymore, man. I don't even listen to music anymore, to be honest with you. At all. Like, every now and then I'll see an old band I listen to, they'll put out a new song, and I'll be like, I'll listen to that, or this or that, and that's about it. I drive. Yeah, my friends say you're a psychopath, because I drive in silence. I don't listen to music while I'm driving either. And I don't know. It's something I fell out of. Obviously, had some bad experiences with music in the past, basically working for people and either not getting paid or having my score cut, and that might have had something to do with it. I was a big Linkin Park fan, and of course Chester, that whole thing. My friends always bring that up. They say that's why they think that I don't listen to music anymore, and I don't think that's it. I don't think it's a big mystery. They want to make conspiracies because they're my friends and care about me and stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I just think I kind of hit a point where I moved on. I'll listen to podcasts. I'll do stuff like that, or YouTube videos in the background. Can't tell you the last time I just pulled up Spotify and was like, I'm gonna listen to Hybrid Theory or The Chronic or something like that I grew up with.
I've never see that's so interesting. Like when you mentioned like at all, I was like, wait, but at all, like not like what?
Everybody thinks it's weird.
Yeah, like that's crazy. Like just not listening to any music at all. Like that's wild. But I mean, even then, to go back to the points, it's like I feel as though people forget sometimes that there are other people that are behind these channels, actual human beings. So it always kind of blew my mind that, when you see people kind of try to start some shit, or they kind of try to get something going, they forget that, like there are actual human beings that have feelings and shit, behind the screen. It's like, by being insulting and just being a nuisance really doesn't help either party, especially if you're watching said person. So, to that, I've seen lots of people just insinuate and try to start stuff, and it's kind of petty because I don't see the purpose behind it, but I guess people just enjoy drama. That's the only conclusion I can come to,
The thing that makes me mad, though, I can, like, the worst insults, this guy sounds like Chills, and I kind of look back at my old videos, like, yeah, I kind of did. Or he sounds like the lighthouse guy from Rick and Morty. And I'm like, that's a stretch, but enough people said it to where there has to be some truth to it. But what makes me mad nowadays, it's not even comments like that. It's comments that people that'll go into my comment section and talk crap about like you or Paul or somebody like that. And it's like, it's not a rivalry. I mean, it's kind of a rivalry, but it's a friendly one. You know, we're all buds for the most part. And it just makes me mad when they think it's a safe place just to be a D-bag. Most people can come to that conclusion to where I'm like, I know Alex didn't do this, or I know Paul didn't do this. It was just some random dude, and a bunch of people happen to agree with them. One comment about you in particular lives in my head every time you're brought up just about, and it makes me mad because it was like 4 years ago now, or 2 years ago. It was when I covered your series, and with Raccoon. And somebody's comment, it was like a paragraph long, like, I find this really interesting when you talked all that smack about him and Murno, and I'm like, when the heck did I talk smack about anyone, let alone somebody I'm a fan of?
No, see, and that I think is the toxic side of this fandom. But then again, I would argue to say that every fandom has this. You know, the Star Wars fandom definitely has this. Oh, this Star Wars YouTuber is better than that Star Wars YouTuber. You definitely have this in the, you know, GTA community and the vlogging community. I'm pretty sure they have it in every single community. But I also believe that fans, or at least some people that label themselves as quote fans, they're not really fans. They're just people that want to see drama. They want to start some shit. And it's really, again, it's not healthy because, you know, you're bringing about more stress onto someone by trying to insinuate something when you should be doing the opposite. If you feel as though something else is better, you should be encouraging someone to, you know, kind of do better themselves by being like, yo, I hope you step it up, or I hope you end up doing this. No, but instead they want to say this, that, and the third. And I've seen, you know, comments on other people's channels where people are commenting to them and saying, yo, Unreal shit is better than yours. And I'm like, does it really have to go that far? Like, that's weird, because I don't want people to, you know, paint me out as being better than somebody, or for someone else to say that, hey, this person is better than you. Like, because I don't care at the end of the day, you know, because I know where I stand. So it's really not something that I'm just gonna sit here and just be like, oh, you know, this person is that. It's like, why are we playing like the judgmental game here? It's I think it's way beyond me. I'm a little too old for that, but I've seen this in almost every fandom. Like, you see it all the time, like with Jake Paul, and you see that with KSI. Oh, like every time KSI fires up like a video or whatever in the comment section, they're like, oh, you're ducking Jake. Jake's better than you. Same thing with Jake. When you go to his comment section, oh, you're ducking KSI, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I feel as though every fandom has them, and it's very toxic, you know?
It's every fandom. You remember ICP and Eminem as a kid?
Actually, I do, but I don't remember too much of the history they had. So, but I do remember that, but just very vaguely.
Listen, but you remember there was a huge divide between the fans for like a decade.
That I did not know about.
Oh, you did? Really? They have multiple diss tracks towards each other back in like the mid 2000s.
See, I remember the diss tracks and stuff, but like, was it like toxic? Like, I don't remember all that. You know, it's been a long time.
I'm sure, you know, if they're all just, to be honest, the only time I ever encountered ICP fans, like the ones that stand out, like the Hatchet Men or whatever they're called. No disrespect towards them, by the way. I just don't listen to them. It would be just like at random parties in high school and stuff. But other than that, you know, I would never really interact with them too much because I didn't have any in my immediate friend circle. But I remember just a lot of stuff online, which people love to get loud online. ICP fans would openly bash Eminem fans and vice versa. But this is going back to where forums were called like BBS and stuff like that, bulletin board system.
Kind of reminds me of politics now, don't you think?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's Democrats.
Oh, yeah, you have a view. Yeah. That's no, that's the worst. And again, for anyone out there listening, I just, you can have a viewpoint on something. I'm not gonna get sensitive about it, and a lot of people do. And I don't know why. And I guess this kind of goes back into like what you just talked about with like, you know, just fans trashing creators. Do you think like the world has gone like extremely soft, like soft to the point where it's at a point where we may not be able to, you know, kind of go back to like, all right, enough is enough, like, you know, stop being such a baby kind of thing?
Versus what I was taught growing up, yeah, the world's gotten incredibly soft. That's one point of view. Depending on your philosophy, you could also look at it as, well, people are standing up for themselves more, or people need to be made more aware of how other people feel. But at the end of the day, I'm like, dude, when I draw the line when you start going after comedians. It's simple as that. And read into that as you will. And you can, anybody listening, if you have to have harsh feelings towards me with that, that's unfortunate because my policies are very simple in life. If you're a good person, you don't hate anybody discriminately, and you're just overall chill, that's all that's really required. As long as you have, it's going to sound a little Joe dirty, but as long as you have in your heart, then that's all that really matters to me. I could care less what your political affiliation is.
Well, so let me ask you, do you honestly believe that in our modern day that comedy is dead?
Not so much. I've seen a lot of really good comedians that aren't afraid to continue to offend people that just shouldn't be going to comedy shows, in my opinion. I haven't seen too many comedians make concessions. I can't name drop a lot of people right now. But like even a lot of the TikTok comedians, they'll just they've gotten popular simply by putting their videos on TikTok. I feel like they're still not pulling punches. I was pretty impressed, to be honest. It's the way I can equate it, and I'm about to get burned alive for saying this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. It's like me going to a Richard Pryor show and being offended. You know, it's like, dude, don't be offended. Like the 10-year-old immature version of you might be offended. You're a grown man. Don't get offended.
No, but I mean, the same thing kind of happened with Dragon Ball. Like, I don't know if you remember, they tried to cancel Roshi. They tried to cancel Roshi because of Toriyama's gag humor with Roshi, you know, being into underage children or whatever the hell it was. I forgot what it was last year, or something like that. So they tried to cancel Toriyama and Roshi for, you know, having Roshi be like this perverted old man. It was just so weird, and it's like, it's a cartoon, it's not meant to be taken serious. I understand the grounds of like where it falls on now. Certainly it's creepy when you look at it, so it's not really funny, but is that a means to cancel the guy for, you know, the humor that he had during that era in the 80s and stuff? You know, like things are so different that now it kind of feels as though you have to walk on eggshells, otherwise you're you know, you yourself, you're gonna get cracked. And we've just become so you know, weak as a society in terms of, you know, people being so soft and unable to, you know, accept other people's, you know, viewpoints and or opinions, that it just drives them insane. And that to me is just insane, you know? It's just weird.
The world changes, social constructs change, where, you know, I think in Japan, a 16-year-old nowadays, you know, that's a girl, and I think it's always been a girl, but that wasn't the social construct. They were looked at as a grown woman, even if they weren't mentally, which is, it's rough. You know, you can go down a rabbit hole there and see a lot of dark things, I'm sure. At the time, that's just what the social construct was. It's not saying it was right, but it happened, it existed. And as far as Master Roshi things in that era, I mean, it just, the time, I guess, as effed up as it is to say, I think it's kind of weird going back 30 years to be mad about something. I think to be awfully bored, go back that far in time, find something to be mad about. They're not doing it now. Like, trust, unfortunately, every country, specifically, you know, the country I'm familiar with, United States, horrible things have happened in the past. Nobody's denying that, man. We all recognize them as horrible things. Part of moving on is just leaving it and not trying to open old scars, you know?
No, of course, which, I mean, I hope that we don't reach the point of like us going into like a major war one day, you know, because you have to ask yourself, like, damn, what happened? You know, like, what happened in the world? Like, everything has changed, and, you know, inarguably for the worst. People are way too soft. You can't have any viewpoints. You can't even express yourself without, you know, worrying about offending somebody. It's so, we are living in such a toxic world, because no matter what it is you stand on or say or believe or even look at or just have a perception on, it's wrong to somebody. It's like, how did we get here? You know, it's weird. You know,
that's unfortunate, because you have people like me who, I'm a pretty clean and proper person for the most part, but I have an incredibly dark sense of humor. For instance, the other day, one of my friends were playing golf with friends on Steam, and just because we've known each other since we were like 14, we're just talking smack back and forth to each other in the text chat, and we're having a conversation, but we're just trolling each other basically. We start getting onto an insult round, and then one of his insults was, "Well, your dad is dead." My dad died like 4 years ago. It was so funny.
Well, that's also attributed because you know them and they're not, like strangers. So like you can just be like that way with them, because you know them.
A stranger, but your friends. But that's just our sense of humor, to where instead of letting the awful things in the planet hurt you, you kind of take it and empower yourself to lean into it.
No, but I'm glad that you're chill like that, because you won't come across a lot of people that are genuine. You know what I mean? A lot of people just come across like a certain way, and it's like, I don't know. You know what I mean? But you come off like you're chill. Like you riding the waves, like just like surfer type. You know
Waves,
what I
man.
mean?
I'm not a surfer hippie type, but go with the waves. The good with the bad, all of that. We'll see if I move to the coast, man. I got a Hugo. He lives in my friend that I referenced in the beginning of the podcast. Lives in Florida now. So yeah, and I don't know if I could deal with Florida man quite yet. But tell you what, that Florida man, the cryptid, there's a meme going basically. Florida man cuts off leg and throws it at police or something like that.
Florida always got those memes. It's like Florida man,
Yeah, Florida man followed by something freaking insane. Does meth and goes to church, stuff like that.
Well, I mean, not to mention, the bath salts and like the zombie outbreak they had, like, what was it, like 10 years ago? Like, it was a crazy time. But before we wrap this up, if there's anything that you would like to share or to tell the viewers and listeners of this video, the floor is yours, man. You can just open up and have the final word here, and go ahead. You can, whatever's on your mind, let it loose, brother.
Well, actually, if you don't mind, I detracted from my own story a while back, and just because I feel like it's, I don't know, maybe somebody out there could use it as inspiration, because I remember feeling as down as I did, and I'll be quick about it. I'm not trying to keep you on here all day or nothing. But basically, to pick up where I left off, where I had first hit 1,000 subs for the first time, and I was considering hanging it up from there. It was back when I was doing what if videos, and it was after, and you can't even find these what if videos since I changed the format. I took them off YouTube. They're on private now. And I did a video, what if Goku landed at Capsule Corp, basically was raised by the briefs. That picked up. I think I got a couple 100,000 views over the course of the series. And then at the same time, and I'm not going to name them, nothing but love and respect, another YouTuber happened to coincidentally come up with the same idea. And when I have, 150 subs, and they had probably at the time 300,000, 100,000, boosted my video like crazy. I'm just at work at the hospital on my computer, and I was always just like keep the dream alive, and having my YouTube studio up in on my computer at work always kept me motivated. I just randomly kept refreshing, and I'm like, hey, I got 7 subs. Hey, I got 8 subs. And I'm like, I kept refreshing. I'm like, am I getting like spam botted or something? I went from like 300 subs to 1,000 subs over the course of a few hours at work. And I'm like, what is going on? I started to see in the comments like, oh, this is the same idea. And of course you got that. You ripped off this guy, even though he's on part 1. The very few. Even though he was on part 1, I was already on like part 5. But kids, a lot of kids on the platform. But it was cool. And for whatever reason, I decided, well, I'll keep at it. Let's see how far we can take this thing. And here we are 6 years later, 100,000 subs knocking on the door. It's my full-time job. And I get to be on awesome podcasts with lovely gentlemen like yourself.
Well, thank you, Mondo. I really do appreciate that. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join me and just to chat, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people would like to know who the person behind the screen is. And I think that, for a lack of a better term, people got to learn a lot about you here today. And hopefully you'll be back for more, because I want to talk about some other things with you, horror-related stuff and all types of other things. So again, we hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, then be sure to give this video a big fat thumbs up if you guys are watching this on YouTube. Subscribe to this channel if you guys are new, and enable all notifications. That way you guys never miss a single video. Also, follow Mondo Cool's YouTube channel. His Twitter link, everything will be located down in the description box below. Mondo, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in and watching this. Tune back in for more once again, and we'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below and in the next video. Take it easy, guys, and have a great day. Peace.